Our next inductee was with the Phillies for 14 years. He managed the Phils for 9 seasons. He's the all-time leader among Phillies managers with 1,416 games managed. He also has the most wins ever by a Phillies manager, 780. He is one of only 2 managers to ever lead the Phillies to a World Series championship, 2008, this one right here. And he's the only manager to take the Phillies to back-to-back World Series. Now, we're talking since 1883. Only 2 back-to-back World Series. Charlie Manuel took the Phillies to that rarefied air. He was inducted into the Phillies Hall of Fame in 2014. He also set the record for most wins by the Phillies in one season, 102 in 2011. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame, Phillies manager, our second number 41 of the night, representing the Phillies, Charlie Manuel.
Thank you, Dan. Before I get started, I definitely I want to recognize Ken Avalon. A few years ago, I met him. I told him I wanted to come down here and be in the Hall of Fame, and he told me it'd be a cold day in hell. And actually, I thought the weather was going to be bad today. But anyway, I like to say congratulations to the guest at the head table here, and everyone's been announced. It's good to see Scott Profrock, Ed Wade, Mike Ondo. I'd like to introduce my wife, Missy. She had to come on this trip. Stand up, Missy. She's my better half. I don't know what I'd do without her. And I'm standing here tonight, like I've been listening, and all the names that I used to hear those names actually when I was a kid or growing up, and about great athletes that's been here in Philadelphia, and also the coaches. And I probably know more about you than you realize, because I was a student. I studied, and I always picked coaches and players and people that were my idols, and I like. And for me to be here tonight and be put in the Philadelphia Hall of Fame, that's definitely a big deal to me. And I want to thank everybody here, and I can't tell you, what it means to me. But there was more to it than actually that when I think about it. When I arrived in Philadelphia, I remember it's I think in January 2003, and I was a special assistant to Ed Wade. And I had no idea, I had no idea how long I was going to be here. Hell, I didn't know when I first became the manager. I didn't know if I was going to be here 14 years or 14 days. People wanted to run me out of town. That wasn't actually, it wasn't new to me, but at the same time, things. I remember at the first press conference that I had, and I answered the question. I said, I don't think people know me, and if they give me a chance, I said, well, I'll win. I'm a winner. I've been playing baseball all my life. I've gone to a lot of places. I've been to a lot of countries, and all you got to do is you go back and you check my record, and you check other teams when I was a player and also a coach or manager, and we've won. And winning was my first priority. Winning a game every day in Philadelphia was my first priority. Anyway, when I start thinking about things, and and I look around, and when I first got here, we kind of had a pretty good team already set up. And for 2 years I worked with the Phillies, and I went through the minor leagues, and I got a chance to see what we had, and I evaluated our players. And there's no way that I never really took off in politics for a job or nothing like that. In my career, I was interviewed one time. That was by the Philadelphia Phillies. I did 2 interview sessions. Usually if I got a job, somebody would call me or ask me, and if it was a move up and I wanted to go, I went. I never had an interview until I came here. And I always thought that my players and how we played the game had something to do with that. And also, you know, when I first came here, and I can't imagine like the success that we've had so far. And I look around and I see the players that I had, players like Roy Halladay, Cole Hamels, Cliff Lee, Brad Ledge, Billy Wagner. I can keep going on and on. Position players like Ryan Howard, Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley. Had the year we won the World Series, if you go across our infield and look at how many RBIs we had, how many runs we scored, and things like that, and what kind of team we had is absolutely amazing. And I want to start also, before I get going too fast, I want to talk about Ed Wade. You know, I want to thank Ed Wade for believing in me and hiring me to manage the Phillies. And I know I've thought about that quite a bit, and I know that took a lot. That took a lot for Ed Wade to hire me. You know, like Ed had only known me for a short period of time, and you know, but when he hired me, also I knew the players that we had in our system, and I was determined when I came here to win. And that's one of the biggest reasons that I took the Philly job. And over that time, since when I had a privilege to work with Ed for a couple of years, and I got to know him. And Ed Wade is a friend of mine. You know, like I want to tell you something. He's a completely different person than most people think he is. You know, like when you get to know him, there's a side about him. He's got some humor. He's got some laughter to him. I have a good feel for him as a person, and I have most respect for him. And I want, you know, like, and I mean that. You know, also I'd like to thank, not only Ed, but I'd like to thank Ruben Amaro, Pat Gillick. You know, like they got us some of the best players, and you know, like that we could have as far as helping us develop our team, and also of course our ownership, Dave Montgomery, and you know, the Betts family, John Middleton, and the Buck family. I wanted to thank all of those people. They were owners, and you know, like they spent the money, and you know, like they put the team together, and you know, like, and I think the success we have in Philadelphia was very, to me, like it was kind of an easy philosophy. You know, we at the time we had the players, and I was coming along, you know, like when we was on our way up. We had a new ballpark, and we definitely bought fans into it, and I think what happened was that people liked our team. They liked our personalities. They liked the way we played. You know, like they like what we brought to the ballpark. And if you stop and think about it, when you would watch Shane Victorino run the bases or Chase Utley run the bases and things like that, we slid hard, we run hard, we played hard, we caught the ball in the outfield. And we played a better game actually than people thought would ever think that we were playing. As a matter of fact, we got expectations started growing so much that people thought that we were supposed to be perfect. And I mean that, you know, like people, and also at one time we probably thought that we should be perfect too. I remember, you know, like everything about it was absolutely tremendous. And you know, I like to also thank my coaches. Had a pitching coach named Rich Doobie. When I first came to work here, you know, like in the Philly organization, I met Doobie when he was a bullpen coach for Florida Marlins when they beat us in the World Series in '97 when I was in Cleveland. And I knew a little bit about him. I didn't know him, but Rich Doobie, you know, like he was the best pitching coach I've been around. He did a good job for me. He was more than just a pitching coach. He was somebody that I could trust and somebody I could lean on, and somebody, you know, like who I would ask a question, you know, like he would answer me, and he was very loyal to me. And also I want to recognize all my coaches. You know, like they were a big part of us. We were a team. We were an organization that was a team. And you know, like I'm starting to get away a little bit from my speech, but you know, like Missy and I, you know, like we come back to Philadelphia, it's like a second home to me, and I can't thank people enough. Actually, somewhere where I go, even like coming here tonight, I don't know how to act sometimes. Really, because people grab me and they hug me and they kiss me, big man, you know, like big guys that hug me sometime, and they laugh and they joke. Women always come up to me there, act like they can't. They look like they dying to talk to me. Really, seriously, you know. hey, you know. Ed, hey, I'll tell you something. I love going to now that Ed's a scout, and you know, like I do a little scouting too, and we'll be together. And Ed Wadey will tell you, he says I kiss more babies than anybody ever seen. Really. Hey, we go to the ballpark, and this is no kidding. You're like, hey, I don't get to see the game. You know, like I'm talking to the people, I'm signing autographs, I'm kissing babies, and people got me going everywhere. And it really, believe me, it's unreal. Brotherly love, that's a good name for the city. Because if I want some brotherly love, I'll come to Philadelphia, okay? But really, I mean that. Everywhere I go, it's not only here, but when I go anywhere in Philadelphia. What about my wife? You know, we go to a place, a supermarket in Winter Haven, and I'll tell her I don't want to get out of the car. I have to sign autographs. She says, "What are you talking about? Nobody in there knows you." You know, we'll walk in there, ask her. There's people in there that know me. I go Christmas shopping, I'll be in Disney World over or something like that, and I'll meet people from Philadelphia. I'm sitting on the street in Winter Haven, waiting for her to come. You know, we're going to go eat at this Mexican restaurant. I'm sitting right there on the street corner, and this man and his wife walks up, and he says, "Charlie, we from Philadelphia." And I look at him, I said, "Fine." He looks at me and he says, "We were just talking, that, you know, like we knew you lived here, and you know, like we were hoping that you know, like we'd run into you." I said, "Well, you run into me, what do you want to do?" So we go in the restaurant, they follow us in there. They don't eat with us, but they sit right beside of us. No, really, it's unreal. You know, I like to tell you a little story about my. First of all, when you say you say I'm going into the Hall of Fame in Philadelphia, like I said, absolutely big to me, huge. And, believe me, I'm honored, and I'm honored that you care about that, about me, and also that you respect everything that we did as a team, and definitely everything about it was great. Everything when I was treated tremendous in Philly. But at the same time, check this out, when I was a little kid growing up, we had 12 kids in our family. I never slept alone until I got married. And you know how you have hand-me-down clothes? You know, like the biggest problem was, you know, there was 2 kids above me, and both of those were girls. And you know, like, and I used to have to wear some of their clothes at school. And actually, I was about 12 or 13 years old when the boys quit carrying my books home. And anyway, you know, like about every 2 or 3 years, you know, when you got kids like that and your father's working and everything like that, you know, like I'd get some new clothes about every 2 years maybe. And I remember my mother always saying, I got something, you know, like a new pair of jeans or something to wear or a shirt. She'd always tell me, she says, "My son, you look like a Philadelphia lawyer." And tonight I'm a Philadelphia lawyer, right? Really. But no. I think my time in Philly, I can't tell you how much I've loved it. And I don't want to stand here all night. I've been a lot of places. I've seen a lot of things. I played a lot of baseball. People might not understand this, but when I say I played a lot of baseball, I used to go, when I sat on a bench in the big leagues in Minnesota, I went to the instructional league. And before that, when I first signed to play baseball, from 1964, for like 9 years, I went to the instructional league, and Ed and him will tell you that's a lot. But not only then, back in those days, we had the league, you played like, I think, 50 or 60 games. And then I would leave from there, and I'd go to South America and play. And so I played baseball all year round for, I don't know, at least 10, 12, 14 years maybe. And I played a lot of places. I played 6 years in Japan. I played a lot, and you know, really. And why did I play? Because I love it. I loved everything about it. I have a high passion. I know what I got, and you know, like, and I don't have to worry about what people say or nothing like that. I got a good saying. I got a book at home. It's about this high, and it's called Know Thyself. First time I ever heard it, Ted Williams, when I talked to him about hitting, and he used to tell me about know thyself. You got to know who you are. You got to know what type of player you are. You got to know what it takes for you to get to the major leagues. You got to realize what kind of hitter you are. You got to be a student of the game, and all this. And I know exactly who I am. And when people, everywhere I go, people get to know me. And I have some things that really get you attention. In the parade, our parade we had after the World Series, when we won the World Series, that was the most real thing I ever seen. You probably heard me say that before. Everything about it was real. And you really, actually, I've always wondered, about, the people in Philadelphia, and how that they remember that and everything, because I definitely remember it just like it was yesterday. And everything about it was real. And when you get in a situation where things happen, there was a little boy in a parade, and his name was, I think I used to call him Johnny. And he used to come and he always asked me for autographs at the ballpark. He'd stick his pamphlet through the fence there down underneath at the garage, and I'd sign his autograph, and he was always down there a couple of times a week. And and I'd talk to him. So in the parade, we riding in our parade, and I guess he's with his dad, and he hollers at me, and I said, "Hey Johnny, what's going on, man?" He's hollering like that, and he's kind of looking at me, and I hear him when he goes. He says, "Dad," he said, "Isn't that something? I know Charlie Manuel." And then I looked down and I said, and I heard his dad say, "You know what, son?" He said, "I think it's something that Charlie Manuel knows you." And that's good. That's kind of what life's about. I get out of a car one day in Los Angeles, after, like at Dodger Stadium. Kevin's with me, my video guy. And we get out of the car, and we open the gate in center field. We go in the back way, open the gate in center field. There's about, I'd say 700, maybe 800 kids there. Little league kids, like they're going through, they having sessions on the field and everything like that. And I walk into the stadium there. And when I walk in, these kids recognize me. And they come screaming over and they start hollering, "Charlie, Charlie, Charlie." And I thought that, and I got inside and Kevin looked at me. He said, "Hey, Chuck, that was kind of touching, wasn't it?" Yeah, I like that. And you know what I liked about it? I liked the fact that they knew me, but also I liked the fact that they was playing baseball. And that really counted to me. And, my whole life's been baseball. And everything about it, it was good. But I'm getting ready to close, but I want to thank you again. But at the same time, when I was working, I used to work in Minnesota when I was a player. I used to work sold season tickets, or tried to, sold busloads of tickets, worked on the speaking tour, and I worked for Ham's Beer. Probably one of the better jobs I got, ever had. But anyway, so, and I'd be up talking like tonight, and our guy in the PR department, a guy named Don Cassidy, when he'd take a pen and he'd hit on the table like that, and that's the time for me to, to give my ending. And my ending was a poem. Now I'm gonna try to give it to you tonight, because when I was in big leagues, I used to sit on the bench a lot, and I used to get mad all the time because I didn't get to play a whole lot, and and so this guy kind of wrote this poem about me. And like we was playing Baltimore, we had big players like Harmon Killebrew, Rod Carew, Tony Oliva, Cott. We had, and on the other side, Baltimore had Frank Robinson. They had Paul Blair, Palmer, things like that. So, we was riding along in the car one day, and it took us about 15 or 20 minutes, and we wrote this poem about my most memorable day. And if I can think of it, if I do it right, I think you'll like it. Listen. It was a warm day in August when history was made. The fans in the boxes were looking for shade. The bases were loaded. It was the last inning. From the sound of the crowd, you knew we weren't winning. When out of the dugout came number 3, the last hope for the Twins it was sure to be. Now legends tell of Casey at the bat, but today it was a killer who tipped his hat. Then cursing and swearing came from the stands when Harmon was waved back by Rigney's hands. Astonishing look came over Bruce's face when Rigney said, "Manuel is taking your place." A disbelieving look, he turned around, placed his bat in the rack without a sound. And from the bench came number 9, who's been warming a pine for a long, long time. As he stepped from a dugout came a yell from a fan. "You can't hit Manuel, the killer's our man." Never before in history had they pinch hit for the Brew, especially with a hillbilly hitting 182. That has to be on Balker in a dirty, rotten shame, to pinch hit for a man who's a sure Hall of Fame. But Charlie heard not a word as he strode to the plate. He only noticed the crowd's eyes, and they were full of hate. "God help me this one time," kept going through his mind. "If I ever get a hit, please let it be this time." Jim Palmer looked in and thought, "This should be a cinch. I'll throw 3 by this rider of the bench." Down came the ball with a little white glare. Manuel stood watching, for he knew it was there. Strike 1 was a call from a man in blue. And 4 pitches later, it's now 3-2. And everything rode on the very last pitch. Would Charlie stay a poor boy or suddenly be rich? The crack of the bat and the long drive to right. The back of Blair's uniform is the only thing in sight. The roar from the stands gave a definite scream. Charlie fell out of bed. It was only a dream.
Charlie Manuel. The newest member of the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame, Phillies manager Charlie Manuel.